Have you ever tried to remember your very first day of preschool? Not the version your parents told you, not the version from old photographs. Your own memory, what you saw, what you felt, what you were thinking. Most people can't do it. In fact, most people cannot remember anything from before the age of 3. You probably remember your first bicycle, your first day of elementary school, a birthday party when you were 6 or 7. But the years before that? Almost nothing. And that's strange, because those years were some of the most important years of your life. You learned how to walk, how to speak, how to recognize faces, how to understand the world. Your brain was developing faster than it ever would again. Yet, somehow you can't remember any of it. Why? What happened to those memories? Did they disappear? Or are they still somewhere inside your brain? Scientists have been studying this question for more than a century. They even have a name for it. Childhood amnesia, the inability of adults to remember events from the first few years of life. At first glance, the explanation seems simple. Maybe young children just don't have memories. Maybe babies are too young to remember anything, but that turns out to be wrong. And understanding why takes us much deeper into how memory actually works. Imagine a Saturday morning in a typical American suburb. You are 2 years old. You're sitting on the living room floor. Your mother is making coffee in the kitchen. Sunlight is coming through the window. A golden retriever is lying next to you. You laugh. The dog nudges your hand. You run toward your mother. That moment happened. Your eyes saw it. Your ears heard it. Your brain experienced it. So why can't you remember it today? The answer begins with a misunderstanding most people have about memory. We tend to think memories work like video recordings. Something happens. The brain records it. The recording stays there forever. But memory doesn't work that way. Your brain is not a camera. It is more like an editor, a storyteller, a system constantly deciding what to keep and what to throw away. Every second, your senses receive enormous amounts of information. The color of the walls, the sound of the air conditioner, the feeling of your shirt against your skin, the smell of coffee. Most of it never becomes a memory because the brain must first decide that something is worth storing. And that process requires specialized brain systems. One of the most important of those systems is a structure called the hippocampus. Think of the hippocampus as a librarian. Its job is to organize experiences and help turn them into long-term memories. When you're an adult, this system works remarkably well. You meet someone new, the hippocampus helps store their name. You go on vacation, the hippocampus helps create a memory of the trip. You graduate from school, the hippocampus helps preserve that event for years. But during the first years of life, the hippocampus is still under construction. The librarian hasn't fully learned the job yet. The filing system isn't finished. The shelves are still being built. This doesn't mean young children can't remember things. In fact, they can. A 2-year-old can remember where a toy is hidden. A toddler can recognize people they met yesterday. A baby can learn routines and expectations. Researchers have repeatedly shown that infants are capable of forming memories. So the problem isn't memory creation. The problem is memory preservation. That's a very different thing. Think about your phone. You can take a photo. But if the storage system becomes corrupted a few years later, the photo may disappear. The picture existed. It was stored. It just didn't survive. Something similar happens with early childhood memories. And there's another reason, one that is even more fascinating. During the first years of life, your brain is changing at an extraordinary speed, faster than at any other period of your life. Billions of neural connections are being formed. Old connections are being removed. Entire networks are being reorganized. Your brain is essentially rebuilding itself every day. Scientists call part of this process neurogenesis, the creation of new neurons, new brain cells. For many years, researchers assumed that more neurons would automatically mean better memory. But studies suggest something surprising. A brain that is rapidly creating new neurons may actually become worse at preserving old memories. Imagine writing notes in a notebook. Then every night someone inserts hundreds of new pages throughout the notebook. The structure changes. The organization changes. Some notes become difficult to find. Some become disconnected from the rest. This is similar to what can happen inside a rapidly developing brain. The very process that allows a child to learn quickly may also make old memories less stable. From an evolutionary perspective, this trade-off makes sense. Nature had a choice. Should a young brain focus on preserving every detail, or should it focus on learning as much as possible? Evolution chose learning. Think about what a young child must accomplish. Learning language, learning social behavior, learning movement, learning emotional regulation, learning what is safe, learning what is dangerous. The brain needs flexibility more than storage. It needs growth more than archiving. Remembering every moment is less important than adapting to the world. But there is still another layer to this mystery, a layer involving something we rarely think about. It's your sense of self, right now as you experience life through a personal story. You think of yourself as the same person you were yesterday, the same person you were 5 years ago. You have a mental timeline, a narrative, a history. I was born here. I went to school there. I met that person in college. You are the main character in your own story, but very young children do not yet have a fully developed version of that story. Their sense of self is still emerging. Psychologists call this self-concept. The understanding that I am a distinct individual who exists across time. Without a strong sense of self, memories have nowhere to attach themselves. It's difficult to create an autobiography when the author hasn't fully appeared yet. This is one reason early memories often fail to survive. The experiences happened, but they were never woven into a coherent personal narrative. And this helps explain something many people notice. Sometimes you think you remember being 2 years old, maybe a brief image, a flash of a room, a glimpse of a playground, a vague feeling. But when scientists investigate these memories, many turn out to be reconstructed later, built from photographs, family stories, videos, fragments combined into something that feels like a memory. This doesn't mean all early memories are false. Some people genuinely retain memories from around age 3, occasionally even earlier. But those memories are rare and usually fragmented. Like isolated islands surrounded by an ocean of forgetting. Now comes perhaps the most important question. If you can't remember those years, do they still matter? The answer is yes. More than most people realize. Because memory is not just one thing. There are different kinds of memory. There is episodic memory, the memory of events. I remember my first day of school. There is procedural memory, the memory of skills. I know how to ride a bicycle. And there is emotional memory, the memory of feelings and patterns. I feel safe. I trust people. I become anxious in certain situations. Many experiences from early childhood survive in this emotional form. You may not remember being comforted when you cried, but your nervous system remembers what safety feels like. You may not remember being cared for, but your brain learned whether the world felt predictable or unpredictable, supportive or threatening. In other words, the events may disappear, but their influence remains. Think about a house. When you look at it, you see the roof, the windows, the front door. What you don't see is the foundation buried underground. Yet the entire structure depends on it. Early childhood works the same way. You can't see those years clearly. You can't remember them consciously, but they helped build the foundation of the person you became. So perhaps the real question isn't, why can't I remember anything before the age of 3? The real question is, how much of who I am today was shaped by experiences I can no longer remember? And that may be the most fascinating part of all, because some of the most important years of your life may be the years your conscious mind will never be able to revisit.